Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Patreon podcast. This week I wanted to talk about the idea of rejecting offers. And that sounds strange. That sounds weird, and that sounds like something that people who are wildly successful only have that problem. And I can honestly say that this learning how to do this has very vastly increased my time and productivity in a good way. It allows me to take on projects that I actually want instead of being bogged down in projects that I just grabbed because I felt like I needed them. But first, I wanted to talk about my time not saying no. So in 2016 and 2017, I was very heavily into the ecosystem of making music for video games, where I did small projects, I did larger projects, and I was also working on Color Jumper. So I had a lot going on at that time, and I took on so many projects. I think I had a backlog of maybe a half dozen to 10 either video game projects or spoken word projects or just anything. I just agreed to anything and everything because I felt like it was necessary to validate me as an artist to have so many projects going on at once. And obviously being paid for most of them, not all of them, but being paid for most of them was really nice too. Like having those funds that allowed me to expand my studio and have kind of a safety net. That was really valuable to me. But the cost of that was that if I didn't say no to anything, I just got this huge backlog, and then it created a lot of stress and a lot of anxiety, and it caused a great deal of burnout for the next 2 years. 2018 and 2019 were both very rough years for me because of that. And I wanted to just kind of talk about my realization that I can say no to people. And that's not something that is disrespectful to the person that's asking. Like, I feel that it would be disrespectful if I didn't have time, but I still agreed to invest some of my time in somebody else's project. Like, that's disrespectful. Because then if you lock into a project, that person's not looking for anybody else that would have time, that would be able to work and get things done. So I think that if you're worried about respecting people's time, it's better to be honest about how your time would be spent with that project, and if you do have the resources to invest in it. But once I started saying no, I realized that I could ditch the clients that I didn't feel comfortable working with. Either clients that I was working with currently or clients that they just felt sketchy. And once I ditched those clients, I was working with people I genuinely actually enjoyed working with. And that increased not only my productivity, but my general mental health by quite a bit, because that allowed me to focus on having fun creating things again, instead of just doing the drudgery where like there have been times where I was working on mobile games and just doing just tons and tons of sound effects. And some of the mobile games I worked on were awesome, and the people that I worked with were great, but sometimes it was just drudgery. Like, it was just going and just making dozens of sound effects that didn't have any context and all this other stuff. And it's just some clients communicate well and some don't. And some people work better with other people than others. And I was working with people that I did not enjoy working with. So I had to eventually say no. And that was one of the best things I did. It's like, yes, the projects paid okay. And yes, they were a way for me to get things done and get things moving, and like it was exposure basically. And that's good. Like, it's good to have that, but it's also good to respect your mental health. So it's hard to say no, but it's also harder to agree to something and then just try to make it fit within an already packed schedule. So And like I said, I think that if you do say no, especially at the intro of a project, that's not like burning a bridge. That's not like closing a door. That's just saying, I respect your time and I want to make sure that you get the best work possible. So it's easy to say no to somebody if you have an alternative plan. So you can be like, no, I don't have time right now, but I know that this person does. So I would go check them out. Or you can help hook those two people up and see if there's something that can be done there. So I think that it's easier to say no if you have an alternative for that person to check out. And that might not go anywhere, but that at least shows in good faith that you aren't willing to help now, but you might be willing to help with something else in the future. Like you're not burning a bridge there. You're just letting them know that, I respect your time and I don't want to waste it. So that's all I have this week. Thank you so much for being a Patreon subscriber, and thank you so much for listening. I really do appreciate it. I hope you have a good week, and I'll see you in the next one. Be remarkable.